Any fighting game enthusiast familiar with Udyr could probably guess exactly where I'm going with this one. And that's because the stance dance ability swapping League Spirit Walker is known for is actually a defined archetype in fighting games that several characters in the genre utilize. Stance characters can range from those who dabble in one or two variations that help mix up their options, to extreme cases where a character is defined by having many diverse styles for any occasion. These stances often grant said characters a huge toolkit to play with, giving you entirely different moves depending on what stance your character is in. They can also grant access to abilities that may be considered too powerful for a base character to have, at the cost of being given defined weaknesses as well to help balance it out. And finally, perhaps most importantly for these characters, they allow you to continually switch stances, showing off poses that would make even the Joestar family proud. So I think it's fair to say that this fits Udyr's base almost too perfectly not to use. And with this core archetype in mind, let's see if we can shape the kit of everyone's favorite Spirit Guard into a fleshed out ability set worthy of Riot's upcoming fighting game. Starting off with Udyr's bear stance, his Q ability is Wilding Claw. Udyr gains new attacks and his next two autos deal bonus physical damage. On recast he gains more attack speed, and the next two attacks call lightning to strike his target. This stance is his go-to damage source when on top of his opponents, to quickly tear into them with a flurry of slashes thanks to the attack speed buff. But for a fighting game, we'll want to more embody the idea and feeling of each stance while fully fleshing them out as standalone fighting styles with their own full sweep of abilities. For bear stance, rather than just speeding up his attacks, let's give Udyr a full assortment of slashing abilities to encapsulate that up-close and personal style. My pitches here are a slashing barrage for his damage option, a standard reversal uppercut, and a slashing dive kick style attack. Plus, when he transitions into bear stance or reactivates its awakening ability, it could add the same lightning charged effect for a short duration, which could make his normal attacks multi-hitting, making it much easier to convert his normal hits into higher damaging combos. Moving into boar stance, we have W Iron Mantle. Udyr gains a shield and his next two attacks heal him. On recast, he gains an even bigger shield and heals based on maximum health over a short duration. This one, of course, is Udyr's defensive option in League, allowing him to block incoming damage and recuperate a bit before he goes back on the offensive. Personally, I would prefer the old school's turtle style here, but either way would function similarly. We would want him to fit into that same slow and steady feeling with some defensive options and other fighting game staples that feel appropriate for this typing. For the activation and awakening ability, make this one an armor ability to power through enemy attacks uninterrupted. And for the turtle stance ability suite, my choices are a slower barrage of punches rather than the full flurry of bear stance, a counter for another defensive tool to reverse aggro, and finally add a command grab to round things off, which to me just feels appropriate for the style. Up next is his ram stance and E Blazing Stampede. Udyr gains additional movement speed, and his first attack against each new target will stun them. Recasting gains even more movement speed and immunity to immobilizing effects for a few seconds. As you could expect, this stance is his mobility option with the added bonus of powering through CC, while also tacking on a little CC of its own. So when we swap over to the projectl side, we can keep mobility at the forefront of ram stance as well. For the activation and awakening ability, grants Udyr a command run to charge his opponents down, then add a shoulder tackle style ability that of course powers through projectiles, and lastly add this stunning ground smash instead as a separate special move that knocks opponents in the air for combo follow-ups. This finally brings us to his Phoenix stance, Udyr's R Wingborn Storm. Udyr surrounds himself in a glacial storm, damaging and slowing nearby enemies. Recasting empowers and unleashes the storm, causing it to track enemies and deal additional damage. In League, this is a way for Udyr to go wide, hitting multiple characters at once and dealing damage over time in a large area. However, for his fighting game equivalent being 1 versus 1 active characters at a time, we could focus more on space control and raw power on this one rather than hitting multiple characters at the same time. Make Phoenix Stance his first ultimate as an install super for a short duration to justify a high power level. It could unleash the same oppressive ice storm around Udyr to constantly proc damage on the opposition when he gets in close, and as with the reactivation in League, give him the ability to control the blizzard from afar and keep chipping away at his opponents with this icy assault. And to even further pay homage to the inspiration behind this stance, give Udyr a few more familiar abilities, like a freezing ice ball, a bit of a different ice wall that still acts to control space, and an icicle spike to poke at them from afar. Then lastly, as a separate secondary ultimate, give Udyr a cinematic super that he can activate from any stance that sees him transitioning through and attacking with each of his animal elements to take down his opponents in stance dance style. But that's going to do it for my ideas for the character. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of them and any other ideas you might have for Udyr and Riot's fighting game. Thanks as always for watching, and catch you in the next video.